What's going on, guys? We're back with another episode of What the
Chill
Podcast. We got an exciting one tonight. This is another pre-recorded episode. Both of our schedules have gotten pretty busy, but we didn't want you guys to miss out on the podcast.
Yes,
so
sir.
we're probably going to be doing a couple more pre-recorded episodes throughout this month, just to make sure you guys get your weekly dose of What the Shell.
Yes, sir.
We have an exciting podcast this week. I know I say that every week, but that's because our podcasts are the shiznit.
They do, man. Like, dude, no, if they only knew what was coming down the pipeline, even the end of this year, I know we got a lot of steam ahead, but I mean, what's to come and some of the pre-recordings they already have, which I'm sure if anyone follows me, got a little preview, but we'll save that till the holidays for a little gifts unwrapping for them. But yeah, it's gonna be good, man. I'm excited.
For sure, man, for sure. So yeah, this week we have a guy I wasn't super familiar with prior to the podcast. I kind of reached out to him, A, because he had a lot of followers, and B, because he had some cool stuff going on. I had an inclination that he was somehow related to Florida, but it comes to find out he was related to Florida and also related to Ohio. So it's kind of a perfect guest for us to have on the podcast.
Bro. Come on.
Hey, man.
I already like the dude already, so.
Hey, bro, we had an entire podcast before we even started recording.
That's how you know it's going to be good. So, it's going to be – hopefully we just don't break our record.
Hey, hopefully, man. But, yeah, guys, so we have none other than Mike Apanovich.
Yeah, you had to break it down.
I had to break it down, man. That's how I teach some of my students how to read, man. You got to break it down into.
At least you're preaching what you teach. Come on.
All right, now. So let's go ahead and add him to the stream, and let's go ahead and get this podcast with all rolling. Yeah, man.
Rolling. Yeah, come on. Man. What's happening?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, man, we're happy to have you. We appreciate you. I know we've been talking crap for the last 15 minutes. It wasn't even recorded, but hey, I'm sure we got a lot of great conversation for the viewers today. So typically, when we get started, we like to ask our guests tell our viewers a little bit about themselves. And how you kind of got involved with reptiles and turtles and things of that nature.
Okay. I've been in reptiles pretty much my whole life, catching turtles, and I lived in South Florida a lot of my life, and I was always catching turtles, snakes, iguanas with a little leash. So I've always been into reptiles, and then I would say the first big thing I got into, like breeding wise, was chameleons. I was a big ambelobe guy or veiled guy. I just loved those guys, and then I got into ball pythons for a couple years, and then there was some sort of weird virus or something that happened, and I bought someone's collection, and I obtained that virus. So I lost like $25K worth of snakes. So my wife was like, all right, you're done with the reptiles for a while. Let's take a little break.
How long ago was that?
That was, I have to say 2014 era, 2012, 2014, some sort of, it was some sort of weird respiratory thing going around, and people were like losing entire collections, and it happened, man. So,
that's crazy.
But yeah, so I was born and raised in Ohio. Then I moved to Florida.
Where out in Ohio, real quick?
Youngstown, Ohio.
Come on, bro.
Big white town, man.
White town. Dude, I still got my 330 phone number. Come on.
That's funny. Then I moved to Florida. It was South Florida, and then I bounced around Central Florida, South Florida, back and forth. And then I was in Tampa, the last place I was at. Then I joined the Army. So then I moved to Tennessee, Kentucky. I was Army Special Operations. I was there for 6 years. I had some medical injuries and some PTSD related stuff. So I kind of got out. I got medically retired from the military. So I moved to North Carolina to be close to my family. And then, you know what? I said, dude, let me kind of keep myself busy because I'm retired. I got my kids and my wife's working, so I'm at home a lot. And I bought my first turtle from this guy named Jason Williamson. really nice guy. So I bought these turtles from him, three
What year was
albinos. That was in 2016. It was the first time I really dove into turtles deep.
that? Okay.
Bought these turtles, and for whatever reason, I made the deal with him. I paid him, but then I'm like, let me just do a little research on this guy, and everything that came up was like scammer, like fraudulent. Don't mess with this guy. He's a thief. And I'm like, oh my god! I just sent this guy $600 for these albino turtles, and now I just got scammed. So I reached out to him. I said, hey man, look, keep the turtles. Can you just send my money back? I'm going to back out of this deal. And he was like, let me guess, you found the scammer articles. And I was like, yeah. I was just straight. He said, can I give you a call? And I said, sure. He gave me a call. And so what happened was he actually sold some turtles to a guy. The guy scammed him. They were supposed to do a trade. The guy took his money, and then he was supposed to trade him some other turtles. So he mailed Jason these turtles, and when he got it, it was just a box with rocks in it. And then the guy,
Wow.
here's the best part. Then the guy stole his identity on like the fun classifieds and started doing fraudulent activities using Jason's name. So he robbed them by money, robbed them by trade, and then robbed his name and started doing fraudulent transactions. So he got double whacked. So, anyways,
How does someone actually care that much?
I don't know, man.
That's some deep stuff, bro. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
I thought I'd heard some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
That probably rises to number one.
Dude, there's some crazier stuff out there, man. So anyways, me and Jason become really good friends, and Jason's one of the first people to actually guide me and teach me and kind of let me know about things like this, you know what I mean, in the turtle world. So that's why I brought up Jason, because he's still today a really good friend, still gives me great input, and we bounce off each other a lot. So then the next
you might have to book this guy one day if he's interested and try to help fix his name, man.
No, he's good, man. He's a good dude, man. And so the next person that I'm going to say is the backbone of everything that I know and do. Because what I like to do, man, is I like to meet and talk to people. And once I get a group of people, I'll pick and choose the things that I like about them the most and then try to turn it into myself. You know what I mean? I try to take the best of each of them and then create my own way of things. So I have a little bit of everybody. Yeah. So some of the people I'm going to bring up are the people that help me, and they're my foundation. Just pieces of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, so you're your own person, but I mean, in reality, if we all look back on what got us started, we can see a little hint of everything. I mean, from Cody, from being a teacher, you can see different elements that have got you to where you're at, and you take those nuggets, man. You glean from who you can, and that's the beauty about if you take full advantage of the people's mistakes or
absolutely
successes and whatever it is, and just learn from those, man. And
but the key thing you're saying is learn, but you have to take corrective criticism well.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys gave me criticism, and I said, from being in the Army, that's all I received was corrective criticism. So when I told these guys, I said, if I'm doing something wrong, don't be afraid to call me out. Let me know, hey, this is wrong, fix it. And that's what I did. Anytime they told me this isn't right or it doesn't look good, or I wouldn't do that because I've already done that. You know what I mean? I believe Jason has like 15 or 20 years experience. He's more a low key guy, but he's, like I said, major foundation in who I am in turtles. So second person I reached out to that has been my best friend since day one. Like, we just connected, and still to this day, we do a lot of projects together. We're bouncing stuff off each other. Like, we went to Daytona together. We became like best friends through turtles. And is Max Morph's Mitch Cow. Awesome guy. You guys got to get him on here. He's freaking, the guru, man. So I pretty much, you can't force yourself on people. You have to, that's the one thing I want to say to the viewers is, like, if you want information from any of these guys or any of these big name guys, you have to take baby steps. You can't just dive onto someone and leech off of them and try to like get everything you can out of them. That's not how that works. You know what I mean? You have to You know what I'm trying to say? Because those guys are so busy. A lot of people don't understand too. Because people will hit me up and like, I try my best to answer all questions, and I try my best to respond on time. But like, dude, I live a crazy life. I'm a stay-home dad. I got 2 kids, 3 kids, but 2 of them that I, take care of. And it's just like,
I feel you, bro.
and then all the
I feel you.
turtles,
3
and
in
then I
diapers.
got, yeah, and I got a couple hundred turtles, man, and I got to take care of all those. I got to take care of my 2
Yeah.
dogs. I got to make sure my wife's getting, my attention, and then I have to like get to my messages from Instagram. Like, oh my god. So, anyways,
Yeah.
that's what I did with Mitch. I hit him up, asked a couple questions, kept hitting him up, but I wasn't like on his back. You know what I mean? And eventually, we created a friendship and an understanding, and we understood that we're very similar in the hobby and just personalities. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Is just if you, because people will hit me up saying, "Hey, do you know like Jared? Jared's another really good friend of mine, albino collector," and I'm like, "Yeah." Why doesn't he ever answer my emails? I'm like, dude, guy has 100K followers, man. He's not going to answer for you. You know what I mean? Like, it just takes time to meet these people, and it takes time to build that relationship. Like, it's not overnight. You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh yeah.
So, but anyways, yeah, Mitch, incredible guy, man. Super knowledgeable, genetics, and just things like that. And then, I would say thirdly would be Jared. Helped me tremendously in my box turtles, even sliders, just tons of information from these guys. And I really just sat back and said, like I said, corrective criticism. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me what I need to do. If you see me doing something, if you see me posting something that's not right, they hit me up right away, and they did. And I'd say, okay, I'll take that down, or I'll fix that, or I'll go back and do my setup that way. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to be successful, but more so successful in the proper way. You know what I mean? I didn't want to be successful being like make a whole bunch of money. I wanted to be successful making quality animals, healthy animals, and proper setups. You know what I'm saying?
Now, did you start from the ground up, even from like hatchlings, or did you actually get into it with some adults and stuff as well?
Mainly hatchlings, and I picked up a couple juveniles. So my first season, I picked up a couple juveniles, maybe like 4 inches. And I actually, my first season, the next season, I actually had I was doing so well. I had 6-inch females giving me eggs my very next season.
Wow.
From those 4-inch or from the hatchlings?
From the 4-inchers, they hit 6 inches by the time spring came around.
Red ear sliders grow quick too.
Man, dude.
Some of them do, but they normally don't lay around 6 inches unless you're a farm or you just have that environment, or you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Not your average 6-inch red ear sliders and to give you eggs.
Yeah.
Right.
I had 2 that year that gave me eggs. So that really like took my hobby to the next level, because I had caramel eggs and I had melanistic charcoal eggs. You know what I mean? So that year, that market was pretty strong. So I took all that money I made and I just reinvested everything back into the hobby. And I picked up more rare stuff, and I picked up that. And then the following year, I got more babies, and I was killing it. You know what I mean? Like I said, though, the dudes that gave me the opportunity to reach out to them, I said, what do I need to do? How do I need to be successful? I did snakes, I did chameleons. I've never done turtles. Guide me, show me. And they did. And some things they didn't. Some things are like, well, you kind of got to do it on your own and feel your way through. And that's what I did. But yeah, just the past couple of years have been so successful that I've turned all that revenue right back into the hobby. That's why I have some of the things that people see and they're like, how'd you get that? I took all my investments right back into the hobby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was that?
I was gonna say, when you get to a point as a breeder where you're no longer purchasing animals to create your projects, that you're now producing your own animals.
Yeah.
That's when you kind of reach the point where it becomes a lot more sustainable.
But the benefit is, I'm going to say I was blessed because it happened to me early, in I was producing right away.
Yeah.
Most people, like,
It takes time, bro.
Takes
Yeah.
time.
I mean,
Time.
dude, I have my big mama, dude. She's, she's 8.5 inches, but like, dude, she's 6 years old. I since a hatchling, man. She didn't even, it takes time. Especially that's why most people that don't want to even get involved with turtle aspect because they don't want it. Which is a good thing because it weeds a lot of wrong people out that are in it for the wrong reason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm back. So yeah. So speaking of that topic, let me say this: like for people listening, and they think because a lot of people hit me up, they're like, "I want to make money. I want to make money. I heard turtles make a lot of money," and I'm like, "This guy ain't making it, bro. He ain't making it." You know what I mean? Like,
It's like the ball pythons, man. It's like
ball python, same thing. What python do I need to make the most amount of money? And I'm like, you're not making it, bro. First of all, number one priority has to be the enjoyment. You have to enjoy this. You have to be like, I love turtles. I love snakes. Whatever you're working with, you have to really enjoy it because when you make no money and you have all these animals and you're not enjoying it, that's when you start. That's when
what do you got, bro?
you start selling them. You start dumping them. But when you enjoy it, and you're passionate about it and you really care about the animals, you give them the best life they can. Like my setups, I feel like a lot of my success was I kind of got creative and I'm said, let me create the best kind of realistic, optimal setup possible. And they thrived. They're eating, they're growing, they're laying eggs, they're happy. You know what I mean?
Now that's the one thing I will say. The moment Cody, hit me up with your link and everything, I was very impressed, especially because I just did I feel like a whole big tour the past couple of weeks of some of the pioneers that's been doing it for 50 years and how they have actually utilized their space to the max and
Mm-hmm.
are so successful in the way they've done it. And it kind of, what you've done kind of almost embodied that. So I've seen, and you didn't sacrifice quality by any means, just like they didn't either. A
No,
lot of
like,
so can you speak upon like how you come up with some of those ideas and and
yeah.
just
So it's like I kind of sat back and I thought about like my chameleons. Chameleons breed really well when they have a natural, bigger environment, and
yeah.
they do better too. And I told my wife, I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, I had to break it down here. I'm like, look, I spent $600 on these three albinos, but I made some money, blah blah blah. I want to push deeper into the morphs, and we're talking about I want to spend $2,500 for a turtle. And she's like, what? And I'm
When
like,
I told my wife that, she almost
dude,
shit her
I,
pants.
and I told her, I said, look, some of the money I made, I'm going to invest in these animals and it's not going to come out of our pocket. My whole goal was to dive deep into turtles, but not come out of my pocket. At first a little bit, pay myself back and then use all that money, like I told you, to keep reinvesting. So
Now
I knew
mainly all
right.
sliders, right?
Was that?
Now you're mainly all sliders you're speaking of right now, right?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have some
Just so
painted
people that
turtles
don't
and
know, so they're aware of
yeah,
what you're
mainly
really.
sliders. I got a couple other little things, but my main drive is the regular slider.
I don't know, bro. Those hypo boxers are pretty fire, and you got an
Oh yeah,
albino one too, bro.
yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Yeah, but so I said, here's my thing too for the people listening. If you're going to spend $2,500 on any animal, why is his enclosure $50? You know what I'm saying? If you're going to spend multiple $1,000s on animals, if you're going to have a pond of $10,000 turtles, why is he in a fish tank? You know what I mean? The enclosure has to be something good. You know what I mean? That's what I told myself. I'm like, I probed around. I looked at the waterlands. I wasn't really a fan. I wanted less maintenance too. So I'm like, I'm in North Carolina. We don't have a real hard winter. The turtles do well in the winter. So I said, I need to do everything outside. I want it to be natural as possible. No, sunlight. I'm not using too many bulbs. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? I want it more natural, kind of like self-cycling every year by itself. You know what
So
I
as
mean?
much as you've invest time wise and all this stuff in it, it almost kind of balances out because you're not using so much artificial stuff as well, to compensate
Absolutely.
for, some of the care of them.
Yeah, and a lot of my animals, I think they breed and do well is because they're outside all the time. And I got stuff like that from Jared. Also, my buddy Mitch, he does everything indoors. Adults, he has a barn. Everything is completely climate control. But I probed out him, and he kind of put me on a waterlands. He's like, the waterlands might be good for outside because you can bury them, you can insulate them, and blah blah blah. And then I started building those setups, adding plants and dirt. The first year I did it, first season I did it, they turned out. I made them with planks like fencing, and I used the wrong sand, so I had to I've redone them about 3 times now. But finally, I feel like I'm zeroing in.
How did you know you used the wrong sand?
The sand was really coarse, and the first time it rained is when I knew I used the wrong sand because it hardened up really like hard. And I tried digging into it, and I was like, "Holy crap, it's like concrete, man!" So I had to dig it all out.
Some Florida sand for you.
Yeah, dude. So then I got play sand. I put the play sand in there, and that worked out better. So I've been sticking to play sand.
What's crazy? You say something about sand is that I've only, from Lowe's and Home Depot, actually, and this is not being biased, but like I've found better sand at I think it's Lowe's and even Home Depot. Like it's not so fine, because if it's so fine, then the turtles. I mean, there's nothing for it to grab and stick. At least when they like that kind of like a little bit of clumpiness. You know what I'm saying? Because if they're digging, then they're just digging and it's refilling the moment they dig.
You're right, and I've been having that issue because my setups don't have a bottom, so the water goes right through it. So that is an issue that I'm struggling with. I'm probably gonna have to end up putting some sort of liner or something to keep the humidity. But what I do is I know my turtles, and I check them constantly. When I know that season's coming, the egg season, I got like 50, 60 adults. I go out there, I start checking them. Bam, I got one female. I mark that pond. I'm like, okay, this female, she's gravid. So I got anywhere. Once I feel the eggs, I kind of know now. I'm like, okay, I got about a week or maybe 2 weeks. And then I also have cameras on my ponds. So
that's legit.
Yeah, so I could just have turtle teeth. I'll be laying in my room like, she's digging. You know what I mean? And I know who's digging, when she's digging. I can zoom up on her. And then what I can do too is if I notice she digs the test hole and the sand is collapsing, like you're saying, and then she goes right back to the water, what I do is I take the hose and I'll make it rain all over the sand. I'll make it rain all over the water. And then sure enough, she'll come out, she'll dig. It's perfect. So it's a lot of like during the nesting season, I'm spending extra time that I shouldn't be spending because I got the cameras, you know what I mean? So now I'm having to like spray down certain ponds, but I just got to figure out a way to.
You got to do a sprinkler system, like an automatic.
Yeah, that might be something good, man. Yeah, just automatically turns on and just missed them. You know what I mean?
You got them outside. It's like.
Yeah.
Now, if you were in Florida, you wouldn't have to worry about it because it rains every day.
Yeah, good luck with that, bro. So you said how many adults, and you've only been doing it for how long so far?
I honestly don't know how many adults I have right now. Actually, I got to think here. I'm gonna say,
and then you've only been.
I got one project right now. Well, also too, what I did is too early on. So I'll get back to that question, but early on, I had the ball python mentality. So right away, I bought these morphs. Instead of making more of those morphs, I just started crossing them. I'm like, dude, this hobby's been here for 20 years, and we really don't have that many morphs out. So I started crossing right away. So a lot of my stuff is, I probably have one project that had about like 32 adults just for one project. Another project, I probably have around 60 adults outside right now, plus or minus. And then I probably have about like 15 adults on breeder loan with friends that I know or other breeders that have the same mindset as me, and they want to accomplish a project, and they may not have that female, and I'll send them a female or I'll send them a male or vice versa. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, where's it going on this?
And you got into it in 2016-ish?
2016. But like I said though, that first season I made crazy good amount of money for
and you reinvested into like more hatchlings, or did you go more of the route
more I was dumping bigger dollars on juveniles and adults and hatchlings, you know what I mean?
Let me ask you this question. What morphs do you work with? I know you're talking about different morphs of sliders, but like...
Yeah, a lot of people don't know there's all kinds of different ones.
Okay. So regular sliders, there's the number one morph right now is the clown that my buddy Mitch produced, clown red ear slider. That one has different combos. There's a clown, the normal clown. There's a super clown. There's an albino clown. There's a albino clown. There's a lubino clown.
Hey, bro, I gotta ask while you're on. What's the difference between the high bino and lubino?
So the high bino is a type of hypo, and when you breed that to there's a type of so in it's not like ball pythons and things like that. In red ear sliders, there's multiple albino genes.
Right.
So
the main like gene 3 or 4, right?
No, there's probably like 15, dude. You know, there's tons. There's Oklahoma, Omaha. I don't freaking know, dude. There you gone. But the 3 main ones are Clark line, Clive line, and the Jared line.
Okay.
So if you breed a albino to a Clark line albino, you create lubinos. So a lubino is an albino times albino.
Interesting.
Huh. And then caramel bred to a Clive line albino, you make snows.
Okay. See, yeah, so, I've seen all those floating around. I'm like, man, dude, like all you think about, like, I mean, you probably put it to the best perspective going into it. I mean, this is almost like your lane because you've already established some of the ball python mentality into it, and you took the good stuff out of it at least, and translated it into doing it justice, especially from the turtles, because that's. I'm not, the biggest fan of red ears. I don't know why, just not my thing. But that's the beauty about everyone has their kind of thing. But I tell you what, man, those ones are. I mean, all the ones are drop dead gorgeous. I mean, they are, man.
Yeah,
I think I guess it's surprising to me, like, bro, y'all in the red ear slider, breeding community have taken some real time to figure out if I breed this to this specific albino gene, it creates this. But if I
mess around, dude.
If I breed it to this albino gene, it doesn't produce the same thing. So this has to be something different.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that. It's just we haven't done that yet. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It's just like he was saying earlier about time and patience. Like that's the thing people don't understand is you're not going to jump into this hobby and make money. You may and you may not because, like you said, you got a female 8 inches didn't produce yet, or I believe you said that. It could be that, man. You could spend $5,000 for a pair of turtles, have them for 4 or 5 years, and get nothing out of them. Then what do? You sell them? You know what I mean? It's just a lot of time, patience, dedication, and just waiting. Because you could be doing everything perfect, but maybe the male didn't tag the female, and they're not giving you follicles. You know what I mean? So it's just a long process. A lot of people don't understand that. They want to jump in and make all this money, and it's like, dude, this takes time, a lot of time.
And I'm sure you can vouch for even the relationship aspect with your animals, like we were talking about before the podcast, how big of a difference that can even make, in their enrichment, how happy they are, even, not to say it's a guarantee, but it definitely helps, man. And
I hand feed a lot of my turtles, man. They know me, they see me, they come right to me, and they just, you know what I mean? My turtles are not just. They're there for revenue. You know what I mean? My turtles, they're my turtles, man. I love them. Like every single one of them. My box turtle, I hand feed them. I spend a lot of time with these animals, and I really, like I said, my main focus is not about money. That's the thing that you listeners need to understand. It's not about money. It's about taking care of the animal, making them happy, giving them the best life they can. Because once you buy a turtle, that's a long-term investment. That's a long-term pet. They don't just, like a chameleon, 2 years or 2 or 3 years, they're dead. And you buy a new chameleon. These things go 10, 15, 20 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's the issue with, we're talking about earlier with just, you know what I mean? The issue with wild animals and releasing them and things like that. I think that's why the rules are so strict, is because people get into these turtles, they don't know how to sell them. So they're like, I'm just going to let it go in the pond. It'll be all right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
easy drop off, but you might, and it's sad that that's something that they can easily get away with, rather than, you see, people getting caught, dropping dogs off and stuff like that. And that a whole different story, you get caught red-handed, but like with turtles, it's like, oh, well, who really cares? Well, that's probably the main reason why we have a lot of laws starting and everything to
I
begin
think
with.
I think a guy he's on the right track. I don't know if you follow him or not. His name is Toothless Reptiles.
Yeah.
Toothless Reptiles is one of the first dudes ever to actually put like tracking devices in his animals. So if the animal is recovered, a vet can just wave it and it'll come up with a serial number. You know what I mean? Like a little chip in the leg, kind of like what they do with dogs. You know, if you get a bite.
Yeah.
So I think if we started doing something like that in the community, and then people are finding these wild animals and they find out who they were, because this tracking device can tell you who it was sold to, what gender it is, who's the breeder.
Yeah.
That could put punishment on the people releasing them. You know what I mean?
I think that's what they were going to do with the tegu and the iguana ban before it got overturned in Florida, because they were making people tag their tegus and iguanas, and I think that's where it was going to be like, hey, we found this tegu and it's registered to you, so
Exactly.
hey, we're on you now. You know,
that's what I mean. Instead of punishing the community, we should punish the individuals.
right?
So
one thing I was going to ask, man, is you seem super knowledgeable on morphs and things of that nature. One thing that's always interested me with sliders specifically is like, I guess the crosses between the red ear slider and the Rio Grande sliders and the yellow belly sliders. Like, do you get involved with those, or do you just stay red ear sliders?
So my buddy Jared, he's the main dude with the Rio Grande right now.
Okay.
He has the lemon lime Reno is what they call it, or Rio. Incredible turtle, man. That Rio Grande really, it's. I'm trying to think of a ball python or something. I'm always relating turtles to ball python. Like what that Rio is equivalent to, like a ball python. That's how my brain thinks, man. I'm like so wrapped up into that. Like when I see a certain animal, I'm like, this is like a pastel in turtles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I try to, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure, man. It just brings a lot of shell pattern, head pattern, and it just really intensifies the turtle. I think he really knocked that one out of the park. By supposedly, the Reno is a locality. It's a red ear slider from out west or something like that, and I feel like it's a mutation. You know what I mean? But they strictly just call it a locality because it was its own species at one point. Now it's just a locality. So it's considered a red ear slider, but it's just a red ear slider that has changed from being in this location. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so like hybrid, man, just ever since I've been in reptiles, so that turtle is not considered a hybrid. But like you said, the yellow belly crossing to red ear, and then what else did you say?
I said Rios and red ear sliders and yellow belly sliders.
Okay, so crossing red ears with yellow bellies. I'm not really a big fan into that, like that hybriding. You know what I mean? I've just ever since growing up in the reptiles, it's been like, don't do that. Just keep it as natural and normal as possible, and try to bring the beauty of that out of it versus.
Yeah, I got a question. Yeah, so for people that don't, morphs, are kind of it's a I don't know, it's rare, but like some people might not realize that it's like, well, how could just one species produce all this, have the potential to produce all this kind of stuff, but yet this species maybe doesn't. You know what I'm saying? So like, can you kind of maybe expand upon the whole morph thing to where why is red ear so prevalent and have so much open opportunity and potential? Is it because people have taken the time to dial in and realize like if they
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say this is my theory. I could be wrong. I'm not going to say I'm right. I think it's because you got to think, man. Red ear slider at one point was farmed heavily, producing thousands and thousands. And at that point in time, something weird would hatch. The farmer was like, I don't know what this is. They would sell it. Breeders would buy it right away. And the farms are onto that now. They know they got something special now. So now, I just don't think like Diamondbacks were ever heavily bred in that way to produce to make the animal create that mutation. You know what I mean? I think if Diamondbacks were farmed kind of like red ears were, I think you
Not
guys
to
would
eat.
have. You know what I mean?
Not
Yeah.
to eat.
Yeah, they were bred for turtles too.
Which is a shame because who knows? You know, our mind probably would be blown away about what some of the stuff that they've seen back in the day.
Yeah, like you got to think. Like I'm gonna say, I want to say like 75% of the crazy red ear stuff. Like I said, I could be wrong. I'm not like the expert on this.
No,
Just
but
from what
your
I've
knowledge,
heard,
yeah.
yeah, from what I've heard, and just what people have told me, like I believe like 75% of all the red ear slidomorphs come from turtle farms that are producing thousands and thousands. Like a prime example, another really great guy, Sean Heater, Dark Hammock Turtles. He's a turtle farm. He has
Those morphs of red bellies are insane, bro.
yeah, but how's he getting them? He's producing thousands, and this year he hatched 2 albino, 3-stripe mud turtles. You know what I mean? How rare is that? How rare is that? But he just produces
so
so
people
many.
that don't know about the whole turtle farm, are you? So they're aware. Are you talking about to wholesale?
Exactly.
Okay, for
Meat
pet
turtles,
trade and okay.
pet trade,
Yeah.
meat turtles.
That's
A
what people
lot.
don't. So people understand like where they're
Okay,
going
yeah.
and stuff.
Okay, so I want to say in the past, like when I first got into turtles about 4 years ago, it was slowly being killed off. But prior to that, I want to say like 5 to 8 years prior to that, it was a huge market because from what I was told, like I said, at one point, turtle meat was more per pound per dollar than beef, sending it to China, is from what I heard. So a lot of people were heavily turtle farming, producing thousands and thousands of turtles, shipping them all to China. And then China, over the years, has mastered that market and has crippled the American market, as in we don't need those turtles anymore. You know what I mean? So they're doing their own mass production to do meat and pet trade in China. There's videos out there you can look at some Chinese farms, and they're incredible. I'm talking about
Dude, they
do not mess
up
around.
the game, bro, and it's
Yeah.
crazy. And I think me and Cody have talked about this so many different times. It's like, as it being local, most it's our, like you said, they are our animals. So
Yeah.
why are we not putting that kind of time, investment, revenue, and love and appreciation for the species, just like how they are? I mean, you don't have to have some top-notch facility. I'm not saying
No,
like
yeah,
that, because
yeah.
the way you do it in your own kind of way, and everyone has their niche, but you put the same kind of passion for it, and obviously you see your fruit. I mean, the
Yeah.
fruit, you reap what you sow. So, I mean, you're a perfect example. But, I think if we, seeing that, it's kind of like it can be daunting, but also we can appreciate it in its own way. To at least they appreciate the animal, but it's like, okay, now it's our turn to step up.
Yeah. Yeah. Turtles is, you guys know how it is. Turtles are really expensive. They take a lot of time and they take a good amount of space. So that's another thing your listeners need to be prepared for. If you want to get into turtles, be prepared for. And they
Get your hands dirty.
yeah. And they're expensive, especially to keep them indoors. You need lights on them at all. You need lights for like 12 to 14 hours a day.
Yep.
Water changes, all that crazy stuff. And if you want to expand your operation like I have mine, yeah, I do water changes every 3 days. And my water bill is not cheap. You know what I mean? So that saves me money, them being outside with the light bill. But then I also have a turtle room in my house that has lights. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How do you do
So
your water changes? How do you have that set up?
For inside or outside?
Outside.
So outside, I have overflow system, and the pipe runs out and it just runs right to the dirt, man. I just made it simple, and I hook a hose to it, give it about a 30 to 40 minute purge, and I go to the next one. It would be more efficient if I had a well, but I don't, and that costs a lot of money. I'm just not ready to spend that kind of money.
Now,
So
what kind of time now? Just to give also to expand on the investment and time for other people to realize how much time does it actually take you, whether it's a daily, every other day, or weekly. Let's just put it in perspective, a weekly basis. How much
okay.
time it takes to, whether it's cleaning or maintenance or whatever you
Oh
have to
man.
do. And I know you
Okay.
are way more bigger scale than what most
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
would. But
I'll give you.
not
I'll
to
give you
fight
what.
them off, but
Yeah, I'll give you what I got now. Like I said, I got about, let's just say 60 adults. And I probably have about 80 babies right now. Um, and that it's constant. I'm going up there. Um, I want to say throughout the day, probably like every 2 or 3 hours, I rotate and check all my animals. I just have so many, you know what I mean? It's just like I want to make sure everyone's doing well.
one little
I want to make sure someone's not stuck to a freaking drain upside down. I've walked in, had a turtle upside down, stuck in a drain, pulled him out, look at him, he's alive. I'm like, he lived. You know what I mean? But there's been times where I didn't make it, and I'm like, you know what I mean?
no.
So I'd say the indoor, I do water changes about every 3 to 4 days. That probably takes me about an hour, but I got a good system now to do water changes. Feeding probably takes me about an hour or so because my albino box turtle, I have to hand feed it. So that takes me probably like 20, 30 minutes to hand feed that thing. I don't know, man. It's a lot of time, dude. Just, I want to say feeding overall,
You feed every
maybe.
other day, or
I feed every day. Sometimes I'll give them a break and then do every other day, but I try to feed every day. But it's just, and like now it's October. I'm not doing any feeding. Um, Sorry, I lost my headset here.
Okay.
In October, I pretty much stopped feeding, so it's a lot less maintenance on that. And I'll do water changes probably like twice a month instead of like every 3 or 4 days. I really can't give you a timeline, man. It's just a lot of time.
Yeah.
A lot of time I spend. But like I said, between my family and the turtles, my day is booked.
Now,
It's just
what do you usually feed? What do you like to feed?
I like a lot of natural stuff, but I fall back on Missouri pellets, the aquatic pellets. That's
Yeah.
what I'll fall back on for like a filler because I feed like salmon, tilapia.
Oh, geez, yeah, dude, you're in it.
Dude,
You got your own chest freezer out there, bro.
yeah, I do, man. I honestly, I do. I try to feed them natural as possible because, like, to me, salmon is like a superfood. You know, it's got a lot of potassium in it. It's got a lot of.
Producing in a year for you. Golly, dude. If I
They're
was
eating
eating
better than me, bro.
salmon every day, bro, I don't know. Golly.
So,
Now,
but go ahead.
man, I lost my train of thought. Have you noticed? This might be a tangent, but have you noticed doing the more naturalistic food, any kind of more aggression, or is it compared to pellets, or just because of that
Mhm.
natural, they get that natural instinct where you have maybe more nipping, more biting, or is it? I mean, I've just noticed
Uh,
that in turtles, even for myself, to where sometimes it's like you gotta slow down a little bit.
I'm gonna have to say not really, man,
Yeah.
because what I do is so I go to Walmart and they got this salmon. You can get 2 or 3 pellets or not pellets, fillets for like $3.99. I'll wait for like the sales. So I get the $3.99 special, 3 to 4 pellet or fillets, and I'll use that for my indoor stuff. And then sometimes, if you're lucky, you can find like 2 pounds of salmon for $16. So like 2 pounds of salmon versus, you know what I mean? Like it's really not
How
that.
long would that last you though? Like, what would that feed? Like,
That
are you
probably feeds for me. That feeds it. Like I said, I do a lot of rotating. So I do like tilapia for like a day. I'll do pellet. Then I'll do a salmon, and then I'll do pellet, and then maybe I do 2 days of pellet, and then rotate back to tilapia, salmon. It probably that. So let's say I get 2 or 3 pounds of salmon. Probably lasts me about a week and a half, maybe.
okay?
So
So you
Are you
just do
chopping it up?
cubes,
$16. $16. Let's just say like $60 a month. I'm spending on salmon, but then it makes my Missouri stretch longer. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
then
it
I'm
compensates
also
and balances, in some way, shape,
yeah,
or form.
and I feel like it it also it really truly. I'm telling you, man. Like the salmon, like what I do is pre-winter, I'll bulk them with salmon, and they do a lot better during the wintertime because I'm not. They stop feeding middle of October. The next time I feed them will be like in April or May. Is the next time they're going to eat. So I'll bulk the crap out of them with fish, Missouri, and all that. And then when they wake up, I do the same thing. I start bulking for the egg cycle, and I feel like they give me bigger eggs, they give me bigger clutches. Like
Healthier
last,
too, and you don't have to worry about egg bounds or anything like that.
yeah. Like last year, I had a couple females, first time layers. Only they were like 2.5 years old, pushing 3, 15 egg clutches, and they gave me 6 clutches. Like
Wow.
that's what I'm saying, dude.
I need to get into sliders, bro.
Dude. But then I know people.
This is how the ball pipes don't go.
But listen, but then I know, but then I know people, but then I know people, bro. But then I know people that have like an 8-year-old slider. They only feed pellets. And listen, I'm not saying it's just it's what I'm feeding, but I'm saying it's most likely what I'm feeding. They only feed pellets. They only feed pellets. They'll get like 4 eggs, 3 clutches.
There's not enough protein, bro.
Not enough. Listen, you got to think of them as ball pythons or chickens. When they're developing follicles, the more they consume, the more extra body weight they have. The more I feed them cutter bone too during that period of development, prior to putting them to sleep and prior when they wake up, cutter bone and heavily salmon and fish and all that because I want them to be big and they're not fat. My turtles are not fat.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about. You know,
they're not fat, man, because they have so much room to swim and walk around, and you know what I mean. If it was in a fish tank and I was feeding it salmon, we're probably gonna have issues. You know what I mean?
So you're gonna have that. They got that. I mean, they're on that friggin' Olympic kind of metabolism going.
That
yeah.
stock tank is a swimming pool, bro, for all intentional purposes. I mean,
yeah. Well, my smallest, my average tank is 300 gallons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. And
so what are those ones outside with the wood that you're set
yeah,
up?
those are 300-gallon Rubbermaids.
Really?
Yeah, my next
you wouldn't
step
even
up,
tell from the pictures. They don't. I mean,
yeah,
don't
they're big,
do
man.
justice.
Yeah, they're big. My next step up is I'm going to move with the bigger groups that I have. I'm going to move to the 600 gallons. So
now, have you noticed a difference even when it comes to speaking about the clutches and eggs and nesting? Have you noticed obviously giving them a way bigger nesting site and depth and all that stuff? I mean, you've trial and error have seen. That's also a tribute to them because I mean sometimes you will get one that they just don't like it and then they won't lay and then
it's true. You're right. Yeah, and then you gotta think outside the box how to get the turtle to lay.
Yeah.
What I've done is I've created a like a 4x6 area, and it's black soil with mulch on top, and I fence it in. So I was ghetto at first. My kids had this like play area when they're younger, so I use that and I fence that in with that play area. It's like a play fence.
Yeah.
And you've probably seen some pictures of it on my Instagram where it's like multicolor, like this weird kid fence. I put them in there and I'll spray that down real good, and bam, they'll lay instantly. So some turtles like some substrate, like that's what I'm trying to say. Like if you have a $2,500 turtle, $5,000 investment, a male and a female, and you have them in a 50-gallon tank and a bin this big for the female to lay her eggs in. You know what I mean? Dude, you're killing yourself. You got to give her options. If you're heavily invested into that hobby, the setups need to be equivalent, or you know what I'm trying to say? They need to be.
Yeah, they gotta be top notch, because there's really no reason if you can spend that kind of money on that, then don't skimp on.
I see a lot of people, tons. I'm talking about like Instagram, Facebook, tons of people.
Hang on filters don't always cut it, and they don't.
Dude, I'm looking at these guys. Like I just, he's showing his turtles. I just pretty much in my mind, I'm calculating. I'm like, this guy has like an $8,000 investment, and he's got a 75-gallon Rubbermaid out of the ground with a wooden nest box like the size of a 2 foot by 2 foot, and I'm like, holy smokes, dude! You know what I mean? Like, no, what is this guy doing?
Bro, it's like, I gotta talk on that, bro. That is literally what I was about to do. Like, my stepfather, he was gonna build me a nesting box. I had 2 ponds; they're out of the ground.
Don't do it,
bro. I listen. I'm pretty sure he's like halfway done building it, and I just stopped responding. I stopped talking. Me and Ed were talking, and we're like, we keep hearing horror stories of people that build these nesting boxes, and then their turtles don't like it, and they're like, what do I do now? And I'm like, bro, I have to figure out the time to get my stock tank into the ground and like do like what you're doing, or just altogether like have a separate big area of my backyard that's sanded, and I can just take the turtles out, put them in there, let them try to nest that way. Because like, bro, those nesting boxes, like sometimes they don't work.
They don't work. And if they don't work, then the female's gonna get egg bound and she's gonna lay in the water.
Right. I'm like,
so you what have you noticed is from in ground to above ground, the difference?
I've never done it that way. I've just seen all the failures that people post, and then they send me messages, and I tell them this is your issue.
Is that how the people that you've the couple of gentlemen that you've talked about, they've all kind of accustomed to?
Well, the guys that, like I said, one guy does all indoors, so his is completely different. You know what I mean? Like, and then obviously you guys know who Jared is. His setups are freaking incredible. They make my setups. I've kind of replicated what he has, but to my style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But his are another level too. But it's it's just I don't know, man. I really can't explain it. It's just like you said, everyone has their own style.
Yeah.
But you can't. I really don't know. I feel like, dude, it's harder for you guys in Florida because you dig down a foot and you hit water. So maybe what you can do is build a really good box around the Rubbermaid or whatever you're using, and then fill it. You know what I mean?
Now, I've noticed instead of just doing one half, I didn't get to look at like really fine tune your enclosures. You do have it going all the way around, like open space. So no matter 360, they can go around.
No,
just one side, one half.
Just one side. Yeah. What I do is I bury them halfway in the ground, and then the rest of it is about 2 foot. I leave out of the ground, and then I build the enclosure around that, and then I fill that just from the front. The sides are pinched because I can't see with the camera if they go to the back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I want to be able to see them, where they're laying, who's laying. And I try to keep them dedicated to the front of the pond. And then they have 2 foot of sand to dig. Sometimes some turtles they'll dig all the way down a foot and a half. Some turtles will dig like right on the surface. They'll barely dig a nest and just drop right there, So I like to give them different options on depth of the sand. But I think 2 foot of sand is good. It's good enough.
Yeah. Bro, so I'm like halfway there, bro. I've put my 300 halfway in the ground. The plan when I initially put it in was to dig all the way down and have it ground level.
You don't want to do that.
I'm not going to lie to you, bro. Digging in Florida sucks. And I got like halfway down and I'm fat and I was tired and I'm like, all right, we're putting this bad boy in the ground. But like
halfway's fine. Halfway's fine. If you go, the issue is real quick, not to interrupt you. If you go too deep, then you're like bending over. You know what I mean? If it's halfway in the ground, you're only bending over a little bit to look at the eggs. Too far down, you're gonna be freaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what's the measurements that you're using on the 300? Because that's what I have, bro. I might have to make it happen this winter before they wake up.
I think the front and back is 6 foot, and I think it's 8 foot long, 6 by 8 foot, and then I believe it's 3 foot deep.
Okay.
1 foot of just with a lip on it where they can't escape, and then 2 foot down of sand.
And how far you put in that like barrier?
What barrier?
Like the wall. So how far deep is that going down?
That's what I mean. The wall is 3 foot tall, and 2 foot of it is sand.
No, I mean like, how far? Okay. How far down into the ground is it going down?
Oh, the wall? No, it's not going into the ground because they would have to dig 2 foot of sand to escape. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's on the ground. My setups are on the ground, but it's just 2 foot of sand straight up from that. You know what I mean?
The one question and why I haven't done it, because I've messaged you quite a few times, asking dimensions and things.
Mm-hmm.
How does it drain when it rains, bro?
Well, that's what I mean. The bottom is just ground. So it's ground, and I just fill it with sand. So when it rains, it just bleeds all the way through, and then that's it, drains out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I might have to make it happen. How many bags of sand do you think one enclosure takes?
So I'm going to just tell you this. if you want to save money, I don't know if you have them in Florida, but what I do is, so it takes about a yard and a half, or maybe 2 yards. That is like $800 worth of sand at Lowe's.
Yeah.
If you find one of those landscaping companies
Okay.
that they have, like, you drive past it and it has like a mountain of mulch, a mountain of sand, a mountain of stone. That's what I do. They're like your little farmer people on the side of the road. I
Yeah.
go there and I can get 2 yards of sand for $30, and they deliver it. You know what I mean? For like 20. Yeah, your mind is blown, right?
Yeah.
So I can get 2 yard of sand for like $30, and then they deliver it for like $30. The most I've ever paid was like $40 or $50, and then they charge me $40 or $50 to deliver it. So it's $100 for 2 yards of sand versus paying $8 a bag at Lowe's, and you're never going to hit that. You're going to spend like $800 in sand, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they just have a spot where they can just drop it off.
Yes, it's the same thing. Like, yeah, that's what you do. Is I put a big tarp down, and they bring this big truck,
It's a
and
long
they
day, bro.
yeah, man. But you know what? You gotta get it done, dude. You got to.
That's awesome, though. Dude,
My cousin flew up and he helped me build these last 3 setups that I built. I got 7 setups, and dude, it was 3 days of hell. Digging those
that's
holes.
what you have total or outside?
7, yeah, I got 7 outside. 7.
And they're all 300s or up?
Yeah,
I mean,
all
300s.
300s. Yeah,
Okay.
300s.
Is it the Rubbermaid tough stuff? I mean, which one is it?
Rubbermaid.
Rubbermaid.
Yeah.
Is it the ones? Because they have 2 different ones. One's a little bit more pyramid going down.
Pyramid,
One's a little
yeah.
bit more straight. Okay, gotcha.
Pyramid, yep.
Gotcha.
I feel like so I told my cousin too, because my cousin's in Florida, and I said, don't look at my setups and think that's how you need to build them. Maybe the design of it, but you got to remember, I'm in North Carolina. We get freezing weather, we get snow, so you may not necessarily need, like, I have a waterfall filter. People ask me, like, is that waterfall filter, is that like for filtration? No, it's not. That waterfall filter is to keep the water from going stagnant. And in the wintertime, that waterfall filter is keeping the water from freezing. That's the only reason why I have that waterfall filter. It also creates biological bacteria in that filter. It's not for cleaning the water. It's purely for keeping the water moving, creating a biological, I guess, filter, if you want to say, but also too, when I get 31-degree weather outside, the water doesn't freeze. It'll keep a hole there, and it'll keep the water aerated. In Florida, you may not need to keep your water aerated that way. Maybe you just need running water, or you can just do purges or whatever you may do. You know what I mean?
got a waterfall filter because I just like the sound of it, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Dude, I sit on my porch right here and I just listen to our waterfall filters.
Yeah, bro.
I drink beer and I'm like, oh man, it sounds like a creek or something, you know?
Nah, I'm with you, bro.
Has it made a difference when you actually started to see, you know, especially like your wife and everything, seeing the time investment and just
Oh yeah,
all that in general kind of now flip side? Because, you know, me and Cody, I mean, we talk about on multiple podcasts with people that we know invest a lot of time, money, effort, and how that reflects upon the marriages and, you know, couples. You know, not to say you have to make money to make it, you know, worth it and happy, because you can, you know, you can be in it for just having them. But, you know, have you noticed, you know, that just really, really help and almost get on board now and support and
absolutely.
Okay.
Bro, if you can turn a hobby into a success, or make some profits, or even pay yourself back. It's not about making big money. It's about, like, if you invest $10,000, you can pay yourself back, and you can say, "Look, babe, I put that 10,000 back. I'm paid back." Or like now you're like, "I want to buy a $5,000 turtle." You paid yourself back. Always remember, this is my theory. Always pay yourself back. As soon as you pay yourself back, then you're golden. You can start really investing into some good stuff. That's the first thing I did. All the money I made, I didn't say, "Oh man, I made $30K this year. I'm gonna just go buy a new car or buy this." I paid myself back. I put it back in my savings. I said, "Look, this is what the turtles made me." She was like, "You put the money back?" I was like, "Yeah, I put the money back." You know what I mean? So as soon as she saw that, she was like, "Okay, great. Like, I'm a believer now." You know what I mean? because our wives, they support us, but they're like,
they
okay.
really don't until they see
Yeah.
it. Like, what
So,
the hell are you doing with all these turtles? Like,
so then,
Where's the pudding, man?
so then when the next time I make profits, then I'll buy a $5,000 turtle. I'll buy a $10,000 turtle. And she really honestly doesn't even have to know. I'll tell her though. I say, hey, I got my little turtle account or whatever. You know what I mean? This is where I put my money at. I'm gonna buy a turtle, and this is how much it's gonna cost, just so she knows. And she'll still be like, oh my God. But she understands, like, okay, this is not coming out of our pocket. This is coming out of your hobby's pocket. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So then, bam, she doesn't even really have to care or know because it's not affecting my family in a way. You know what I mean? So then, bam, I get that new turtle for $5,000. It comes to me. It's strictly coming from the hobby. That's how you need to make it. You need to turn the hobby to continue to build your collection. Don't turn your family's money into building the collection, and then you're gonna have issues with your wife, and then you're gonna have issues with you can't pay your bills because you have $40,000 in turtles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when you do it that way, then when you're in a pinch, you don't have to sell your collection to get out of that pinch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I see a lot of guys doing that.
Like you said, then then they realize that, oh man, this is gonna take some time before I even can get anywhere near back to where I put in, and then that's where people get stuck, and they're like, oh dude, forget this, man. They bail out, and they're still out on all that money because you ain't gonna get the same price for what you bought it for. Most of it must be.
I'm telling you, take if you're new and you don't got a lot of money, take your time. Make sure you really want to do this. Buy something cheap. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Work with it. If you're like, man, that's what I did. I bought the albinos.
Yeah, started somewhere, man.
I bought the albinos. 6 months into it, I'm like, man, I really enjoy this. I want to expand now. What's my next option? $2,500 turtle. That's what my next turtle was $2,500 turtle. My wife is like, oh my God. But I bought it. I raised it. I did it. I bought another one, $1,500 turtle. I bred them together. Within a year and a half or so, I made double. I made like 10 grand off that one turtle. You know what I mean? And then it goes from there. But what I'm trying to say is, like, you may not make that money at all. So a lot of people, like I'm saying, I just want to really stress, just because I speak about certain numbers that I've made, I possibly could have never made that. And you know what I mean? But I really enjoyed the turtles. Yeah. So I really want people to understand, like, don't get into this hobby because you think you're going to make crazy money and you're going to be rich. You know what I mean? Yeah. Get into the hobby because you enjoy the animals, and there's a potential of making decent money to fulfill the hobby. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you gotta, like we were talking about before the podcast, I mean, allowing them to serve a bigger purpose than just that. You know what I'm saying? So when you know that animal serves a greater purpose, whether it can be family related, bringing the family together and doing stuff like me and Cody, we bring our daughters in, right? And then or whether it's financially, or whether it's like me, I like to love to do educational programs, and let it serve a bigger purpose also, because then you not say you'll appreciate that animal, but like you'll see how much other people will be able to appreciate it. So you can and you can do whatever niche you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, so whatever you feel like you can really attribute to, go for it, man. Don't let it hold you back, and they can make you money and, and this and that on the side, as a side thing, but also let them serve a greater purpose also. And whatever you feel your love and where you can better serve, it can start. And I think it has to start with the family, no matter what.
Absolutely. And another thing is too, is like, don't look at what I have, what Cody has, what you have, and be like, I need to be on that level right now. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? It's not. You don't know where his finances, my finances come from. So the one benefit that I'll tell you right now is how I was able to jump in and get some stuff early on was when I was in the Army. I knew when I got out of the Army, I wanted to get back into reptiles, because in the Army I had no time. There's no time for reptiles. That's why I lost some snakes, because I was in the Army and I tried getting into snakes again, and I just didn't have the time, and it fell apart. So, but what I did is every deployment I did, all that extra money that wasn't necessarily going to go to my family, it was just extra money. I talked to my wife about it. First, I talked to my wife. I said, hey, I'm going to make an additional $2,500 for being deployed X amount of months. Can I put that in a little extra account for my reptile hobby so when I get out, I can get back in it strong? And she agreed to that. So after 6 deployments, I walked away with, let's just say, 15 grand. So when I got out of the Army, I was like, I have 15 grand that I've saved up just for this. You know what I mean?
Dude,
It wasn't.
yeah, and like you said, that's hard earned money. That ain't no swipe it, you know what I'm saying? Like
That's what I mean.
that's exactly how me and my wife did it, to where with my books, that it's not cheap, so I get, my allowance, for my training and coaching, and guess what? Percentage to the side. Percent next thing you know, people are like, man, I was like, I'm even surprised, like, okay, I got a good amount for, jump on this. And people think that, it just comes out of nowhere like
Yeah,
that. But
that's what I'm saying.
If you let stuff slowly build up like that, you'll be amazed, how compound effect it can really happen. And
Yeah.
it just takes time and diligence, man. That's why you said the commitment thing. You got to be committed. You got to be dedicated. And you got to love it, because if you don't love it, man, you're gonna realize, man, I put a lot of time, effort to no avail, and just for it to wash clean. And it's like, dude, yeah, I'm sure anyone can attribute anything to some perspective in their life of putting a lot of effort into something, not realizing it's what they want to do. And that's no hard feelings, because I fully believe, don't live without regret. I mean, try it.
No,
Like
absolutely.
you
You have
said,
to.
but try slowly.
You have to. That's the key thing for the listeners. Try slowly, and don't be like, man. Real quick, I just know a couple guys that I've been trying to like mentor, and then they come at me like, it's been 2 years. Why haven't I produced?
Yeah.
I'm doing everything you're telling me. I'm like, that's not how that works, man. The animals produce. We don't produce.
And you
And then
got to
I get,
realize also, like you said, dude, they're animals. They're living things. This isn't
yeah,
you know, whatever you want to call it. It's a
yeah,
living being thing. So guess what? You treat it like a living being thing, it might turn around and help you out and compensate
yeah.
you. But until you treat it like that, you know,
Exactly, man.
tangent,
It's
tangent. But go ahead.
yeah. And then same thing. What I was expecting to be producing by now. I need money now. What am I going to do? I'm like, dude, you know what I mean? Like, it takes time. The animals have to produce. We don't produce. When people ask me, how many babies you getting this year? I'm like, I'm not laying eggs. You know what I mean? It's my turtle. I don't know. I could get 5 clutches. I can get 500 clutches. I don't know. It all depends on the animal.
Yeah.
I told him,
Now,
I said, then, this guy's telling me, I put all this stuff on my credit card. I got to pay it back. And I'm like, dude, first mistake right there.
yeah. One thing I wanted to to expand upon the investment thing, because I think a lot of us, they and I see it more so in the investment from the ball python industry, because I was in that a little bit also.
Yeah.
And I seen how they work and function, which I think helps me also on perspective with turtles as well, kind of like with you. But I don't see it as prevalent in the turtle realm as far as the investment. Do you spend all this time set up, happy turtles, everything like, and then it comes time to lay, you get a clutch, and then you're putting them in a cooler or something. You know what I'm saying? So,
There's your first mistake right
not
there.
say there's anything wrong with that, but what do you use specifically? Because you spend all that time and effort. You have a sea serpent or a homemade rat, or like, what do you do for?
Hot box, man.
Because that's
that's my investment. I can't put my freaking investment in a cooler, dude.
No, and I'm not saying I'm not hard knocking anything, but like, you know what I'm
I
saying? Like,
am.
it's something to say, like, dude, like, it's just even that peace of mind where you don't always have to check it or wonder if this or
I
that
always
is
check
wrong.
it. You still check it. You
Well,
still
yeah,
check it,
but
man.
I'm just saying, in perspective wise, having at least a quality thing that anything can go wrong, anything can go bad, regardless. But
You want to hear a bad story with a cooler?
Let me hear it.
All right, bro. So last year, I was turtle sitting for a friend, and I produced some ornate diamondback terrapins. Came out of nowhere. I had never incubated. I had never, done anything. So like, use a cooler. So I was like, all right, cooler. Cooler worked pretty well, but after the hatchlings hatched, there were so many hatchlings, so many different like clutches, that one of the tubs had fallen onto another tub,
Oh man,
suffocated the entire clutch, bro.
no.
Yeah, bro.
My first season. So I would say my first season, I actually bought. Like I said, okay, if it's your first season and you're really iffy about it and you really don't want to spend the money, like I said, I started slow. I bought off of eBay or not eBay, Craigslist, those repubators,
Okay.
and they actually worked really well.
Really?
But I said, hey, I bought them for $50 each. They're $100 brand new, and I said, look, bam, 2 repubators. Let me try these out. And my first season, I was learning. I didn't know. Like I said, some things you can teach, some things you just got to go through it. I put too much moisture on my eggs, and like 15 of them popped. So that, when you're talking about an $850 turtle and they're popping on you, you're like, dude, no, So
You're like,
yeah,
what the?
So how'd you
but
control all that with the humidity and temperature and all that stuff?
Were you missing them or something?
I was missing them. I misunderstood what my buddy told me, and I was over missing them, and they popped. But then I actually went back and watched a video from one of my main dudes that I always used to buy from, my favorite ball python guy, Ralph Davis. He fell off there, but dude, Ralph Davis is man. I actually went back and watched his incubator videos, and that's how I zeroed in on to correct my mistake. You know what I mean? He has a couple of videos where he talks about the perlite or just hatch right and how you mold it, how much water you add, and I'm like, I'm gonna try this on the turtles. Should be the same concept. They have the same incubation time, and it worked out perfect. And ever since that, I have no issues now.
Gotcha.
So
So what do you like to prefer? The hatch rite or perlite, or what do you make the
I
right?
like hatch right just because I'm so used to it from the ball pythons. I'm stuck with it, man. I know it, and I just don't want to like.
Yeah,
I actually used to at one point. I did water incubation. Put the eggs above water. You've heard of that before?
Yeah.
I actually used to do that, and then for whatever reason, I kind of pushed into the hatch right, and I just been stuck on the hatch right. And I got the hatch right zeroed in. I'm like, I know it, man. I add my water to it. I squeeze it. I move it around. I'm like, bam, ready to go. You know what I mean? I just know it. So I'm just, you know what I mean?
How long into did you actually buy your first hot box? And was it
The next season, the very next season, because I was like,
I gotta admit, I don't know what the hot box is.
man, you better learn what the hot box is.
He's just south of me, man. That dude, he's legit, man.
Dude, that incubator is hands down. If you use incubators, hot box, man. He starts at small, I think like $300 or $400, and then he goes up to freaking giants, dude. Mega incubators, and they're airtight. They're climate controlled. Everything is like.
What's crazy is that dude puts. I mean, talk about a workhorse, man. That dude is always delivering, going above and beyond, traveling. Delivering. I mean,
speaking of that, like my incubator actually cracked, and then the latch broke. I actually reached out to him and said, "Hey, I bought this incubator. It's like a year ago, and I'm having these issues." He's like, "No worries, I'll send it to you. No worries." That's something else too. I want to talk about is like if you start breeding and you start selling animals, you have to back your stuff up. There's a limit to it, but also too like there's a lot of dudes out there that'll sell you stuff, and then like you ask about it, like, hey, this is not doing well and whatever, and they're just like, you bought it, I can't return it. You know what I mean? Because obviously they don't have the revenue to return it. But it's like, if you want respect in a hobby, you got to sell good stuff, quality stuff. And if it's not doing well and someone reaches out to you, take care of that person, man. Because like I said, this person may be starting fresh, and that $400 might be the only $400 they have. They may have saved up that $400 past 6 months. And if you can't take care of that person and honor them, or maybe even say, hey, next year I'll give you something, or hey, I got some with a split scoot, I can send that to you. Take care of them. You know what I mean? Like, that's just my biggest thing is like, because I was that way. When I first started with chameleon snakes, I started, like we talked about, saving. And then that money I saved up, let's just say it took me 6 months to save up $500 because I'm doing $100 every check. And then I buy a big animal, and a week later it's dead. Where it comes to me in the mail like half retarded, and I'm like, dude, and they don't want to give me my money back. You know what I mean? Like, that's devastating to some people.
Yeah.
So it's just and that goes about your name too. I mean, dude,
your reputation.
If you word of mouth is key. I don't care how many follows you got. If you got a bad word of mouth, just like you said, I
You're
mean,
done, dude.
it's a relationship. It should also, no matter what, like you said, man, you got into the hobby for the love of the animals because you want to not and all this other reasons, but ultimately the driving factor originally was relationship also,
Yeah.
and building quality relationships like me and Cody and you coming on here now. That's the beauty about why I love doing these podcasts as well, because we get to build relationships and connections with people that we normally wouldn't be able to get to another perspective and niches, but ultimately that's all gravy because we get to expand upon different things, and you get to drop some knowledge and wisdom for people. But ultimately, man, I value the relationship. I value connection because that
I
goes
do too.
far, far, far beyond any animal, any dollar amount. I don't care you can't put a price on that. You know what I'm saying?
I tell my buddy Mitch all the time. I tell him we'll do breeding projects or like loner stuff, and I'm like, dude, I don't even care. I don't want our relationship to be hindered or ruined for a dollar sign or a turtle. Like I
Not worth
respect
it.
you, and I like really enjoy our friendship. Like you know what I'm trying to say?
It's
Yeah.
not
And
worth
I have to admit, like coming to turtles, man, the community. I'm going to say 75% of the community, they're beautiful people, trustworthy people, honorable people, like awesome people versus like snakes and stuff. Snakes was a different world, man. But
Bro, I'm honestly, and that was the one thing,
Sam
I got
Central,
into it
man.
for a little bit. And I'm like, man, dude, and I missed this, and that's why I was like, I didn't get it out of it, like, for just, any other reason other than like I missed the community,
The
and
community, man.
everyone has their own cup of tea, but something about this community to where, you know, you almost, and I say this lightly, but to the right people like us, and some of the people, most people we've had on, we wear our heart on our sleeve. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And we're very open, transparent, and we have nothing else to gain that we care about because we just love what we're doing.
You know what? I'm going to say something. One reason why I think turtle people are like the best reptile people is because the turtle hobby is a struggle, dude. It's like you either hit on it and you're successful right off the rip, or you are struggling, grinding the years, the time, the feedings, the water changes. It's not like snakes. You open it, you drop a rat in there, and you change out the freaking aspen or whatever you want to put in there. Like turtles is a struggle. So anyone in the community that does well and they're in it for the right reasons, you can automatically respect that person. You're like, dude, I know this dude has been through some struggles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah,
it's a difficult hobby, man.
Yeah.
And it's like people that are big time successful producing quality animals, doing the right things. You look at them, you're like, dude,
You can't knock it. Like there's
you
no other
can't.
way than knock it rather than like I'm not knocking, like I say knocking the ball python to where you can just throw two in and yada da. And
No,
here
it's the
it's
same.
like,
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. But I feel like turtles is way harder,
oh
and it
yeah,
takes a lot more time
yeah,
than
definitely,
snakes. You know what I mean?
yeah, wholeheartedly,
not
man.
to mention the struggle of finding somebody who's willing to sell you the opposite gender of what you have. You're like, I'll give you an example, bro. I have a female mangrove diamondback terrapin, bro. The ones you're talking about. I can't find a male to save my life. I know people that have females, but
Yeah.
none of us can find a male. I'm sure there are people out there. Somebody might watch this and have a male, but then it's like, so you're gonna sell it? Like you're just gonna hold on to that male? You're gonna help this female reproduce? Like what am I going on, Ed? A year and a half solid I've been looking.
I don't know, bro, but you keep looking.
That's a tough. See, that's a tough one though because of the situation that it's in. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just,
Yeah.
if you find someone with one, listen. Another thing about turtles I want to talk about is make sure you do everything legal and make sure
Yeah.
you do everything the right way. Don't take shortcuts in turtles because that's just going to put a bad name on the hobby and a bad name on you.
I've had people like, oh, I can get you a wild caught one. I'm like, I
No,
I'm good, bro.
Nah.
I am not in that much of dire need to reproduce this captive bred turtle for you to go take from the wild population. Like,
Yeah. I'm just saying there's certain species that we work with, like that one.
yeah,
Just if someone does hit you up, just make sure
yeah,
everything's legit. You some sort of paper trail or some sort of background. Maybe you get like references. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
if you get nothing and there's nothing there, it's
I,
just
I think
man.
I think the moment you only talk about dollar signs and you're like, okay, this isn't the right reason, this is the right motive, and
Yeah,
if it's not precise on the animal, like talking about the animal, and different things, and it's not, and they don't want to hear a word from you about anything about the animal. They just want to see or hear dollar signs. Well, guess what, dude? Turn around the corner, man, and go, because it's not worth it, man. Because
no
what,
man.
like, you want to deal with, going back to the relationship thing, man. You want to build quality relationships, and that's not building relationships, man. Like, and it's
Yeah,
not definitely not building a relationship with that animal, and it's just, yeah, like you said, man. And I think the turtle. Thankfully, the turtle, industry, and the hobby, and just, it's really big on, and that's another thing, having turtles be in where we're at, rather than a lot of ball pythons over in Africa and stuff like that.
yeah,
These are our animals, man. So we take a lot more pride and diligence on them, and conserving them, and helping their populations, and trying to give back. I think the turtle
yeah.
community is all about giving back, because they're our animals. When it boils down to it, they're our animals.
No, they are. You're
And
right.
so, I mean, that's not saying nothing about the whole other all the other countries, but like, it's just something about when they're at home base, man. It's home, and you better do right
I
by home, because if you don't do right by home, you ain't gonna do right by nothing else.
Yeah, man. It's already a struggle to be in the community and in the hobby just because of the laws and restrictions and the constant pipeline coming down with new restrictions or new law or so it's like I feel like every time one person makes a mistake, it's just like that game you pull the little stick out and there's like marbles in there. It's like I feel like every time one, even if it's just a regular Joe Blow guy, it's just one more of those toothpicks coming up before it all just comes down. You know what I mean?
So,
So
yeah,
the more we can alleviate simple mistakes and simple violations, the better for all of us. You know?
yeah.
Mike, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
So you said that you've done pretty well reproducing your sliders, your box turtles. Have you reproduced your box turtles yet?
No, not next year should be my first season.
Okay, so you said you've done pretty well reproducing them. What's your like go-to place or way to sell? And then second part, how quick do you sell out? Like,
Um, so I I normally sell. I'll be straightforward. I normally sell overseas.
okay,
I have a couple buyers that buy mostly everything from me. I will here and there sell to hobbyists or other breeders mainly. I don't like to do like a retail. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's more so like if I know you're a breeder and I know you're a serious person, I'll sell to you.
yeah,
Um, so a lot of people get upset with me. I get tons of people asking me to buy stuff, and I tell them I normally don't have anything available, or I just don't sell to them, um, just because I just don't like.
haggling.
It's not the haggling because honestly, if I feel like I said, let's just say there's a couple of dudes that have reached out to me, have asked me a lot of questions, and I feel like they're really into it. They really want to get into this. Dude, I'll sell them turtle half price or just give it to them. You know what I mean? I don't care. You know what I mean? Like I'll take care of people like that. Like that's just who I am, man. Like
Yeah,
if I feel like you can't afford it, or you were in a situation maybe I was in when I was growing up, and I really enjoy it, and I really want to be a part of the community, but I just don't got the money. You know what I mean? I may just give that turtle to you, or I'll say, give me $100 and I'll give it to you. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um,
It's about that
but
relationship, bro. We keep coming back.
yeah, it's about the community. It's about taking care of people, but mainly, I don't like to sell retail because a lot of times it's a hassle because some people will try to play the system. I'll sell them a turtle, and then like they just are constantly complaining or just a whole bunch of other stuff that just doesn't make any sense. And then that leads to forums and they're posting stuff. Oh, this person's a jerk, and it's like, I don't want to even deal with it. I just don't want to ruin my reputation. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
just rather stick to reputable people that want to buy my animals and do well with them and not just put it in a fish tank and then complain about me on the forums instead of just asking me, hey, Mike, the turtle's having an issue. Okay, great. Let me help you fix that issue. What's the issue?
Yeah,
Most people don't do it. Most people don't do that. They just, you know what I mean?
It's crazy to think that a lot of people they don't. If you got something from somebody, why would you be afraid to reach out to them about
Exactly.
it? There should be no, you should be so open to feel like, someone could do that, but if they're not, then that's kind of just on them, because I've had it
Yeah.
seen it so many different times. I'm like, just reach out to them. Just reach out to them. They're human. Guess what? We are human. I mean,
But like I told you, I don't sell something. If I do sell like a retail, I make sure
it's your animal too, right?
Yeah,
It's your animal. Like
it
you
is.
want.
It's to me. It's my baby. You know what I mean? Like to this day, people that I've sold, like let's just say smaller hobbyists, I still reach out to them. Hey, how's that turtle doing? Send me a picture of it. You know what I mean? Like how's it growing? Tell me about it. Oh, it's growing slow. Okay, try this. Try bumping your water temperature. Try feeding it some salmon. You know what I mean? Like I'll try to help them progress it. But it's like you said, just reach out to me. And I've seen a lot of my friends get burned on that. Like they're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to like retail some stuff. And it's just like, instead of reaching out to the breeder, they just go right to the forums. Like, oh, this turtle, I've had this turtle for 5 months and he's dying. Like, how does that have anything to do with the breeder? You know what I mean? So it's just like, to avoid that, I just sell strictly to the Chinese importers, exporters, or like I'll do a lot of trading with peers of mine, like other breeders. Or like I said, if I see someone that's really in the struggle, or they got some money and they're like, hey, I got the money, but I'm really dedicated to the project and I really want to like grow and learn. Okay, I'll sell you something. But 90% of the time is not going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those exporters, I'm assuming they're buying, bulk amount, like entire clutches at a time or entire inventory.
Yep.
And you pretty much almost got lined up per season, because most people I know in other breeding, especially with Diamondbacks, they already have the lineup already done, sold, and ready. They're almost biting at the shop waiting for them to just hatch.
That's true. Sometimes they'll try to give you like a pre-order. I don't do any of that. I don't, because like I told you, I don't know what I'm going to hatch, so I can't do no. I cannot do a pre-order with you, and I cannot take your money unless I know what I'm selling. And the other thing is, I don't sell anything, even to China, unless it's been almost a month. I don't sell anything out to egg. Everything I sell has been like 3 to 4 weeks. I make sure it's eating, and I make sure it's growing, and I constantly monitoring, make sure everything looks good.
So you think a month or two? Where's the cutoff to where you feel like that animal is ready, and irregardless overseas, but like even anywhere,
I would say as a breeder, my personal self, when I first see that first growth band, and I see they're active and I see they're eating on their own. But the main thing is that growth band, because that tells you like he's actively growing. So when I send it to you and you see that growth band, and then that growth band disappears, that's something on you. If for whatever reason it's not growing anymore, I send you an actively growing turtle. It don't matter if it's to China, it's to retail, it's to you guys. It has to actively be growing if it's a hatchling. You know what I mean?
What do you mean by, for people that don't realize, the whole growth band, and then what does that compare to size wise? Even do you go by size or activity?
It doesn't matter size. It could be 1 inch, 2 inch, 5 inch, 3 inch. A growth band is the scutes on the turtle will actively be spreading or darkened or pink. Like the turtle is actively growing. You can see it growing. To me, that's a growth band. You can flip it over, look at its belly, and you'll see pink or dark, whatever color the turtle is. The lighter the color of the turtle, it'll be pink, or if it's like a darker colored turtle, it'll be darker. But it'll look like someone outlined the scutes, and the scutes are just spreading. You know what I mean? So I do that too because, dude, my name is everything. My reputation, I only have one reputation and one name. And my Asian buyers, they know this. Everything is good and healthy. So when I send it to them, they have no issues. And if they have any issues, I try to take care of them best I can. It's hard because like we talked about earlier prior to the show, it's about $1,500 per export. So it's like if I have 3 turtles that they receive and whatever happened during the export, they're not doing well, I may just refund them the 3 turtles, or I may replace them their next order.
No.
But that's just who I am as a breeder and as a business person. I'm always going to have, I'm not going to sell you everything. I'm going to have stuff back in reserves just in case I need to replace, or if I receive money from you, I'm not going to spend that money on a new car. I'm going to hold that money till the order's done, maybe even a couple weeks, make sure everything is happy, everyone's good to go. You know what I mean? Because like I said, you screw one person over, you're done.
Yeah.
You made $20,000 off of someone. Now you're done. You know what I mean? What's the point of that? What's the point when I can continue to do business with someone or other people, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like the military taught me that big time. Honor, integrity, just you gotta have it, man. And don't let money cloud you.
Greed.
Exactly, greed. Because this guy's in China. A lot of people do this. A lot of people say they get into turtles, they'll produce like 30 turtles, they'll sell a big order to a guy in China, and they're like, screw it. I got my $30,000. I'm happy. I don't gotta do nothing about it. Then a dude hits him up and says, hey, 4 or 5 of these turtles are not doing well from export. Like, what are you gonna do for me? And they're like, nothing. And then they tell all those buyers they all talk to each other, and then you're exiled. You know what I'm saying? And it's like for what?
Yeah. Now, system-wise, how have you noticed your system to work as far as getting those hatchlings ready and prepped for those kind of trips and stuff? What kind of system do you bring them through? Other than seeing that growth spurt, like, do you have a certain system layout that you work with them?
No, not really. Just like I said, feed them. Some turtles will within 2 or 3 weeks will be ready. Some turtles will take like 2 months before they really start growing. It all depends on the turtle.
Yeah.
But then I'll tell the person buying from me, I say, hey, these turtles are ready. They're growing. I'll show them pictures of everything. I just like to be thorough so there's no confusion. We're talking about 2 different languages, 2 different countries.
Yeah.
So even if I do I've done a couple business things in South America. Same thing. The way I do things is always the same. Show if it's 100 turtles, if it's 10 turtles, if it's 300 turtles, every single turtle, I take a picture and show them. You know what I mean? That's what I would want. If I was a buyer spending multiple thousands of dollars, or even if I was spending $500, I want to see pictures. We're turtle people, snake people, reptile people. We are visual people. This is why we're in the game. This visually aesthetic animals. You know what I mean? So it's the same situation. You got to show them what you're selling them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just what I do, man. I get them growing. They're strong swimmers. There's no issues. There's been times too where I went to go do an order, ship it out. I saw 2 or 3 of them like possible issues. Quarantined them right away. Contacted the buyer. Hey, 3 turtles not doing well. What would you like me to do? Would you like me to refund you some money? Would you like me to replace them? Would you like me to get you back next year? Because sometimes I may only have 10 of certain turtles, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, let's just say a rare turtle, 10 of them. I won't have any more to next year. What do you want me to do? You got to give your customer the option, but you have to make it fair for both of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And now, do you usually typically do mainly hatchling formula, or do you get a little balance of
Same thing, man. Same thing. I do natural foods. I do like some salmon, tilapia,
even that
pellets,
young, just
even that young. Yeah, what I do is with the salmon, I'll squish it and turn it into like paste, and then I drop it in there, and then it's someone who taught me this is my buddy Jared taught me for box turtles. He mainly taught me this for box turtles, but I brought it to sliders. Okay, so he said with the box turtles, you don't want them sitting there like picking and chewing. You want them to take a bite and they're getting multiple things, like pretty much blend it up, turn it into a paste. So when they bite, they have a whole mouthful of everything. versus biting one cucumber and it eats a whole cucumber and it's done. It didn't get anything but a cucumber. Blend it all up into like a paste, into like a, so when they bite it, it's like full mouth of everything. So I took that concept to the sliders where I take the salmon and I'll crush it, like squish it, and it'll be like a paste, right? And then I'll drop it into the water, and then when they bite it and they use their claws, it just rips, and they all will just bite on each side and just rip. So it's not like they're struggling; it's just pulling apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a fluff. So when they bite it, everyone's fluffing from it, and it's just getting a mouthful. And that's just what I do, and I'll keep doing that. I'll sit there in one pond, and I'll keep feeding. And to what sliders do is, it gets to a point of they're so full, but they're so greedy. They'll continue to eat, but keep it in their mouth, and then spit it out, and then eat it again, and then spit it out. It's like there's nowhere for it to go. Then I'm like, okay, this pond is everyone's good here. You know what I mean?
Now, how many times a day do you usually feed hatchlings?
Just once a day.
Once a day.
And like a pond like that, when I see them doing that, when I feed fish heavily like that, maybe the next day I just won't even feed them because I just let them time to digest and kind of like, you know what I mean?
Or how are you making the paste? Like, are you hand mushing it?
No. So I'll get a cutting board.
Okay.
I'll cut it like a square of salmon, and I'll take the knife and I'll just flatten it. You know what I mean? I literally take the salmon and just like flatten it, and I keep like doing that, and then I'll scrape it into a pile, flatten it, and then I'll chop, flatten it. It's just really weird, man. It's like I don't know where I came up with that, but it works really well, dude. And then it's like I turn into like a little square, and it literally is like meat that is like I don't know. I really can't explain it, man. It's just I kind of hope you know what I'm trying to say, but
no, I've seen other people even in other countries are feeding this stuff. I'm like, but they've got it down, kind of the same concept you did, and and it's better for the turtle. It's more efficient, and they're getting a lot more out of it. And I mean, to each his own. I mean, I think we're all trying to come up with different ways.
Essentially, it's a pellet. A pellet's just a dry version of it. I mean,
essentially, you know what it is? Okay, now that you say that, essentially, it's you ever feed beef heart the cubes?
I haven't. No.
Okay, so beef heart in a cube, that's what it essentially is. Because beef heart in a cube is just pretty much crushed up beef heart and frozen. And then when you put it in the water, it thaws and it just falls apart. And the turtles just kind of go at it. I also feed them beef heart. I'll feed them mysterious shrimp or mystery shrimp or something like that in the cubes. I'll feed them pink plankton. This is all baby hatchling stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. Bloodworm. I really don't like bloodworms. I'll start bloodworms to get them eating. Once they get the concept of eating, I take bloodworms out of the equation because it's really, there's no nutrition at all. You know what I mean? And then a lot of the turtles, for whatever reason, they'll fixate on the bloodworms and not eat the other stuff. I kind of, once I see them getting the concept of eating, I completely cut out bloodworms and then go from there.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And then what you could do too is another thing that I do is I'll soak Missouri, and I'll bin feed them, and I'll squish the Missouri. So the Missouri is a little pellet, soak it, and then I'll just squish it. It's been soaking for like 30, 40 minutes, and then squish it, and then drop like 10 of those in the bin, and they can do the same concept. They'll bite it, and it'll like pull apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's another good feeding thing that I do. It's like crumbs, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they can pick and choose, and that's now when you're talking about feeding your turtles in general, how do you just drop it in whatever their enclosure is? And since you do water changes every 3 days, I mean, it's really,
yeah, because my buddy can tell you, dude, I'm really like I don't know what the word is, like a neat freak, clean freak.
Dude, so am I. I mean, all my animals get fed out. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't have near capacity you do, but I can still do separate feeding tubs, essentially, is what I'm getting which is not ideal, but
I'll feed them. I'll give them about 45 minutes to an hour to eat, and then I go in and I scoop any remnants of anything. And if there's a layer of film, because let's just say one pond has like 30 hatchlings right now, and they just create a giant mess. Then I'll just do a full water change in that right there, dude. I'll be like, water change, bam. I just keep them clean. I keep them clean all the time. Clean. Because I read this one article, it really stuck in my head as I forget what turtle article it was, but the dude was essentially saying the turtle lives in its own toilet bowl. They're constantly peeing and pooping. So it's like you want to keep that toilet constantly flushed. You know what I mean? You want to give them fresh water.
Yeah.
So I just keep them clean, man. And that's another reason why a lot of people get like shell rot is just dirty water, or it could be like the basking area or whatever ramp or whatever it is. When they flip off, they're creating an injury. So two reasons, big thing on shell rot is injuries or uh, like ammonia in the water, high ammonia. I noticed if there's high ammonia in the water, they'll start getting those red sores or like little red dots on them. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's, I mean, and those are things that, only someone that, that up to the magnitude also, that you do it to where you almost have to dial in. We all should, but like you notice those kind of things, especially because of, the production and like what you have, quality wise that, people, you got to observe your animal, but you also got to I think that's why, a big reason why I'm big on, that's cool that I get to still handle them, when I feed them, because I examine them every single time, even when it's not feeding day. I'm always analyzing,
Yeah.
examining, and don't let, especially when you're talking about turtle, man. We just talked about this, last week, Cody, of, people, it's not a dog or a cat. I mean, you're talking about a reptile that takes 3 times as long to heal from an injury than any other, species. So don't catch it the moment you see something, man. And
That's another issue too. And now that you say that, like, I'm going to go back to the topic of like spending $2,500 on a turtle, but then you don't want to take it to the vet. You want to like try home. You want to like do a home remedy on it. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. Now, what do you do?
I take it to the vet, man. I take it to the vet. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I have home remedies after the vet. You know what I mean? If I have a $2,500 turtle or anything more than that, or $500 or more, $100 vet bill is gonna save its life versus me soaking it in some bullshit I seen off of YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, take it to the vet, man. I've had so many people. Dude, I got this caramel. I paid $2,500 for it. It's dead now because I tried soaking it in something. And I'm like, did you take it to the vet? They're like, no. I'm like, dude, let me tell you something.
You gotta take it's a humble pie too. I mean, it always is.
It's the same thing with the enclosures, dude. It's the same thing with the enclosures.
You learn so much. Like, dude, just taking your animal to the vet. If you grow any kind of relationship, grow a relationship with your vet, because, dude,
that $100 vet visit is gonna save that turtle's life or really help it heal. Let me tell you something. A lot of people don't like to use it, like Baytril or just antibiotic. But a turtle, once they get an infection, they're really struggling to fight off whatever they're fighting. A little bit. You don't have to give it all 7 doses because most vets are like 7 dose. Okay, you can give it 3 or 4 dose. Once you see active healing, bam, that's it. That means whatever infection it was fighting. Dude, turtles are the most hardiest animal on the planet, dude. And they can recover so well. There's turtles out there that got hit by cars and they crack shell and they go into the wild and you find them and their shell's warped. They've healed on their own. But sometimes captive animals are not as hardy and they may need that antibiotic or they may need that silver iodine cream or whatever it may be. Dude, if you have an investment in some, if you bought a Rottweiler or a German Shepherd for $2,500 and it had a boil on its neck, are you not going to take it to the vet, or are you going to soak it in some bleach or soak it in some vegetable oil or whatever? I don't know what the freak people. Betadine. Let me tell you, betadine is an incredible thing. But if it's a bad infection, it needs antibiotic because it could be internal. It could be in the blood. Betadine.
Let me tell you something, dude. I just had a vet, for the past couple of months, it was 10 cycles, and then you lower the dosage and dry dock every day. I mean, it was a process, but like you said, the moment we were able to reverse that, and see that growth, you still continue on the monitor and everything, but dude,
Yeah.
it took, a good solid 2 months of consistency of getting that internal flush of, antibiotics internally so that it has a chance to fight that to counter,
Yeah.
it can't just be
It
exterior.
it depends on the fungus or the bacteria. Betadine will work. If I look at an animal, but you have to know that. If you
Yeah.
don't know it, you can't just be like betadine. You know what I mean? If you don't know and you're new to the hobby, take it to the vet.
Yeah.
Because
If
the
you're
worst thing you're gonna do is you're gonna pay a bill, but you're gonna if you're any kind of really into it, you're gonna gain so much knowledge, dude. I talked to my vet, and I gained so much knowledge just talking to him, and he's like, dude,
yeah,
most of the things that I'm showing you, teaching you, and all this stuff, we had to learn like this. This is how we learned. We didn't,
yeah,
because I was like, how do you just know about all these different kind of things? He's like, same way you do. I learned from the same concepts, same animals being brought in and worked on in trial and error. And I mean, that's how we learn, man. And if you never give yourself a open availability to, like you said, constructive criticism to learn,
yeah.
like you don't know everything. We won't know everything. But that's the beauty about life is that you can always continue to grow, man, if you're willing.
That's you hit the nail on the head, man. It's like betadine will work on a lot of things. Dry docking cures 75% of things. But what I'm trying to say is like, if you don't know and you're new to the hobby, take it to the vet.
Take it.
Um, take it to the vet.
Hashtag that.
It's not worth it, dude. I just see people hitting me up like, I got this adult charcoal, probably worth like $5,000. I've raised it up. It has like sores on its neck. I looked online. It says I should soak it in tomato juice. I'm like, dude, what the? Take that thing to the vet, dude.
Take it to
You
the vet.
know what I mean?
Well, and
Get
that's the
that.
thing. Like they're now, especially with social media, and I'm not knocking the fact of getting other opinions, but don't let your opinions be based upon a post on Facebook group, and you get 50 to 100 of e- every realm of whatever you can possibly think of, dude. Like,
Yeah, and sometimes sometimes shell issues. It could just be water staining. I've had
yeah,
people hit me up say, "Oh, I got all this shell rot. This guy told me it's shell rot. What do you think?" I'm like, "That's a water stain, dude. Mineral deposit or whatever." Oh no, he was telling me I got to put betadine all over it. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, you got to think like my water is different from all three of yours waters. So if I raise a turtle here and I have hard water or well water and I send it to you and you got city water, soft water, it's going to develop white spots or white staining on the shell, mineral stains. You know what I mean?
no,
So you got to assess it. Like you said, reach out to some people that you know are like reliable and say, hey, what do you think this is? It looks like water staining. Okay, great. Just monitor it. Keep an eye on it. If it gets worse, then it possibly is not water staining. You know what I mean?
yeah, and that's a key. Monitor, like
Yeah,
monitor,
I do the
monitor,
same thing you
monitor.
do. I do. Believe it or not, with all the turtles I have, once or twice a month, I got just so many. You know what I mean? I'll try to see them as they go. The smaller ones, I look at them daily. Like you said, a couple of them, I'll be watching them. What's that weird thing? I pick it up, take a look at it, check it out. Okay, it's cool. The bigger ones, probably once or twice a month, I'll drain the ponds, capture all the turtles, look at them all. If I see someone with an issue, bam, inside, dry docking. If I know with my confidence I can't take care of it, right to the vet. If I know I can just dry dock it, maybe it's like a skin fungus, maybe he's not docking enough. Maybe I just need to dry dock him for like 3 or 4 days. Bam, take care of it, put him back, you know?
Now, what kind of
But
setups do you have for the multitude of even hatchlings that you have? All obviously, are they inside and separate
yeah,
tubs
if you
or?
go on my Instagram, I have
Mm,
a entire rack system. I think it's 6 to 7 bins. The I think it's the giant cement mixers, and I got them plumbed, and they're all overflow, and I have a water reservoir, and that's how they live.
and per morph, is that how you do it, or how do you
Per project.
per project? Okay.
So like one bin right now, I have like uh 30, 30 of a project, and then 15 more of that project in another bin. And then as they grow, I separate them by size. If we got some like 2.5 and some at like 1.5, separating, because that's when you get into the issues of like tail nipping and finger nipping and stuff like that. Because the bigger ones are getting aggressive, and you got to
The last thing you
separate them
want
a
to do
little
is
bit.
even sell a turtle that no
Yeah.
one wants that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna. I meant to bring this up a minute ago. You know what the issue a lot of people feel like they can do on their own, and
What's that?
no shade to anybody that's ever done it on their own. You know how sliders and box turtles get like abscesses, those ear infections?
Okay.
Bro, 90% of people were like, yeah, man, just get a straight razor, cut the turtle's head. And I'm like, bro, do you know how much money I spent on this turtle? Like, you want me with a damn wobbly hand to take a razor, cut the side of its head, drain it, and not have antibiotics or anything to, like treat it? And now I'm not saying you can't do that because I have a turtle that actually somebody did it to and it's fine.
Yeah.
Bro, I only spent $180 at the vet for them to do it.
Yeah. So I know a couple guys that do that on their own. They'll cut it, they'll drain it, and they'll soak it in like salt water, like aquarium salt,
Yeah.
or they'll do betadine or whatever it may be. But me, I ain't doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't, like you said, I'm worried about the secondary infection. I'm worried about that. But like
That's
I
even
know
more
people.
deadly than the first one.
I think if you feel like I said, it's on what you feel confident with. If you feel confident about it and you can
Are you willing to take the L if it goes wrong?
exactly.
But
But to me,
It comes down to.
but to me, dude, an abscess on the neck of a turtle. Do you know how hard it is to get a turtle to stick his neck out and then cut
keep it
it
there.
and then cut it?
Bro, the vet and I spent 30 minutes trying to get my Florida box turtle that was this big to hold its neck out so
Yeah.
that she could do the surgery. Even, bro, giving turtles injectable medicine is a pain, bro. Pulling their
Yeah.
legs out when they, bro, like little things you don't think of, like
Dude,
Yeah, it's hard.
became a
yeah,
two-man job. Like my wife was holding the leg, I got the syringe, and I'm like, all right, let's go. Like,
or
Yeah.
even that, or I've even had to deal with the oral, in the mouth. And my
oral
turtles, they're not nasty. They're friendly turtles. So to get a friendly turtle to stick its open its mouth, because of the parasite, because that's another thing, parasites, man. People think,
Yeah.
man, control that stuff, man. I don't, but yeah. So, dude, that's
man.
I really encourage everyone right now, you know, before they listen and after they listen to this podcast, dude, check out this dude's setups, how real raw, it's you will examine each and every picture. That's what I'm saying. I went, I was like, dude, like there's some people that you can just skim. And I was like, there's nuggets here, there's gold here. Thing,
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
and that goes with, just how we started this thing, passion and your love for doing it. And it shows not only in the product, I say product lightly, the animal, but it shows in the fruit and what you produce, as well as how much you take, how much time you take. And guess what? 3 kids here, 2 dogs here.
Yeah, man, it ain't
like
easy.
so it's like, do right by them, man. And if you can't maintain it, don't go there yet. Work slowly, man. Like you said, like until you can manageably do it confidently, like you can't. If you were to put yourself in your scenario where you're at right now, how many years ago, compare.
Can't do it.
So
No way.
don't be Superman, dude.
You're just gonna lose money. You're gonna lose money, and you're gonna lose animals, man.
Yeah. So grow, and that's the beauty about growing slowly, because you learn. By the time you get to that point, you're like, dude, I'm so glad I went through these little processes, because I would have lost or whatever you might have it if I wouldn't have went through that, whether it's own personal or relationships, or I might never even met that person, to be able to give me, that, what I need to keep moving forward. Because I mean, that's one reason why I'm still in it, is because, man, the people, man, I love it. I keep learning, and you keep surrounding yourself by those kind of people. It'll be, it's it's so hard to get out of it if you're like that and you're in it. You're like, dude, I can't leave, man. Like I almost feel like, it's like a brotherhood more than a brotherhood of anything, and that's just
Yeah.
not saying because you're from my hometown. I'm just saying, it's
No,
like a
yeah, man.
brotherhood kind of thing, man. So yeah, man, and obviously, I think we started this in the beginning of the podcast. Was like, man, I don't know if we might beat our limit, but I think we officially somehow we beat our limit. But I think it was just because of how much knowledge and how much just everything you've dropped and just from your daily just grind, which is the cool thing of learning your daily grind, because I think that's the best way we can learn.
Yeah, man. Hey,
So,
if we added the first 20 minutes before we started recording, we definitely would have beat it.
Yeah,
well,
that's what I was thinking. But
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, man. I really do, man. You guys have anyone listening have any questions or whatever? Hit me up. I'm really friendly, man. I put some information or whatever I know. Like I said, is what I know is just what I've gathered from other people and turned it into my own.
yeah.
Uh, just
And you've seen
just
the
gotta,
product from it, though. You know what I'm saying? You became your own. You gleaned. You became your own to where certain people might not, I don't say mesh with some certain person, but they might mesh with you. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
you get a cup of tea from everyone and spice of life, and you get to see. Not to say you can't be friends with everyone, but I mean, like you said, that tight knit group. Hold that tight, man. You get that. Hold that tight
yeah,
and don't let go of it, man, because like you said, that's invaluable, for your progress and for just better the species, or overall, man, you can't go wrong. So,
yep,
and the side bonuses, the animals and the product, and money and learn, and all those are all a byproduct, man. So yeah, man,
absolutely. I
we
agree. I
appreciate you,
agree.
brother.
Cool.
so we have come to the end of our podcast. We appreciate you guys, the viewers, for watching.
I hope you appreciate it. It's almost midnight right now.
I know.
Hey, I'm gonna be dead tomorrow at work. I no,
Hey,
no.
man.
Oh yeah, you guys are working.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me, man. And today was kind of rough. Like, wish we could have done a little bit earlier, but you know how that works, man.
But I'm so glad, like, dude, I'm so glad that we were able to make this happen because, yeah, this has been.
I think we're all gonna sleep better after having this conversation.
Oh yeah, until one of the twins screams and then the other one screams and
Oh man.
yeah. Oh yeah, dude.
I gotta admit, there's nothing quite like the fulfillment, at least when dealing with this hobby, of when you talk to other hobbyists and bounce off new ideas and like, dang, I'm gonna try that idea. And so I definitely appreciate it. What I was gonna say though, Mike, is at the end, we like to provide our guests with an opportunity for people to, be able to follow them, where they can find them and things of that nature. So if you want to drop some information on how people can find you, and your great stuff that you're doing,
Yeah, man. I only use Instagram. I kind of weeded myself off of Facebook.
Smart
I
man.
just my Instagram is Mike's Aquatics. I think it's an underscore. Mike's underscore aquatics. That's it, man. And I don't know how else they can find me.
Hey,
Oh, there's video, that's for sure.
Yeah, the video.
there you
So
go. Hey man, I guarantee you somebody will find you like, hey, I've seen you on the podcast. Can I buy a caramel?
I appreciate it, guys.
Hey,
Yeah,
they probably didn't watch the whole podcast if they're asking you if they can buy a caramel, but
Yeah, I'm like, nah, man.
but we appreciate you guys, the viewers, and Mike, we appreciate you for being on the podcast. We'll see you guys next week with another episode. But until then, this has been another episode of What the
Shell Podcast. Yeah.
Shell Podcast.
Come on, man. I'm getting my Highland back accent, man. I'll tell you what.
That's funny.
No. All right, guys, later.
All right, later, man.